And how are you?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm being forced to go to Top Golf later, which I'm not thrilled about, but it's my cousin's birthday, so I guess, you have to do, whatever's in the plan.
Mm.
Yeah, how's your week been?
Pretty good, man. Had a good week, man. I'm just Father's Day was cool. I
Mhm.
didn't do much, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I saw you have how many kids?
two boys,
Two boys.
two boys. Yeah, one is a music producer, and the other one does digital arts.
Oh, that's really cool. So I guess they
Yeah,
followed in the creative footsteps.
yeah. I'm kind of. It kind of worked out that way. I wanted them to do that, and it worked out that way. So,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, was that something that you were apprehensive about, like from your creative experience, or was it something that you encouraged, or how did you feel about that?
um, my oldest one, he always would draw.
Mm-hmm.
He would always draw, and my youngest one always made music on the computer. I ordered our very first computer. I ordered this music program called Hip Hop EJ, and
Mm-hmm.
it had like where you can drop and drag, voices and tracks and percussion and whatever. And he was like a year and something, 2 years old, mastered it. And then one of my buddies, when he was 10, gave me a copy of FL Studios, which is Fruity Loops.
Yeah,
And he's been using that since he was 10, and now he's 26.
that's crazy.
So yeah, so they both had a computer in their room, and they still doing it. So now they getting paid doing projects and releasing music and releasing projects and all kind of stuff. So, and I was like, y'all saw what I did. If I can do it, if I can
Yeah,
do it, you can do it. So
yeah,
so yeah, man, it worked out perfectly.
yeah. Well, I feel like I think that's a lot of, like you see a lot of kids whose parents, there's like the Steph Currys who like it feels like it's a lot easier for a kid to do it when their like dad or mom has already done it, and then they can.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times I feel like with everything, there's a lot of kind of misapprehensions about how to make it work career wise. And I just remember reading an interview with KD where he said the interviewer asked him something like, like a kind of a funny question, like, when did you know you were gonna start playing basketball? When in the classic, and he was like, well, when I was 9, I told my mom, I think I could actually like do this, and she was like, okay, well, we're gonna start doing two a days. Um, so like,
Wow.
and I feel like especially with entertainment stuff, a lot of people think like it's like, oh, it's just something that you're born with, you know, oh, because you're tall or whatever, you can play basketball and stuff like that. And it's like, and it's funny, but when people have, like I said, when people have a parent who's done it like career wise, it's like, it's all right. This is the way that you do it, and this is like how you make it work.
Because you got the blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
The blueprint is right there, and any advice that you need, or they're right there. And who better to learn from your parents? So,
Mm-hmm.
like all these NBA players who their son comes up in the NBA. They grew up going to the games, going to practice, and all that stuff with their dad. So, and they dad ain't gonna play around with them like, hey, you need to. So they come up the best. That's the best way right there. Better
Mm-hmm.
than a friend. So if your pops or your moms is doing something, I mean, who else could teach you better than the person that's actually doing it or that have done it?
Yeah. When you started being interested in comedy, was that something that your parents encouraged you towards or discouraged you from?
It's funny, man, because my dad was always funny. My mom was always funny,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think neither one of them knew that I was clowning in school and trying to make everybody laugh or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
when they found out I wanted to do comedy, they probably both of them were probably like, "You want to do what? Did he say comedy?" They ain't never seen me be silly like that, so they wouldn't know. And one of my cousins back home was like, "Comedy? How the hell you come out to be a comedian? You was the quietest dude in the family." And I'm like, "But I didn't grow up. I didn't grow up with him, so you
Mm-hmm.
don't know that." So, but yeah, man, it was. I was just always trying to make somebody laugh, the class clown, and then it got
Mm-hmm.
to me being at work, and my coworkers started saying, "You always making everybody laugh. Won't you try it for real?" And I had never thought about doing it for real until one
Yeah.
of my coworkers like, "I think you're missing your calling." And when he said that, I was like, "Oh, this is my
You're like,
calling." I was like, I never
yeah,
looked at it like that. So, because
yeah,
I always wondered what my calling was. And a lot of people are sitting on their calling and
yeah,
don't even know it. So, when he said that, it clicked. And that's what made me start writing down. If I said something that was funny and people laughed, I wrote it down or just
mm-hmm.
started writing stuff down and went from there.
Yeah. What do you think? Like, because I also really like making people laugh, and what do you think was the genesis of that for you? Like, what do you think made you first start doing that as a habit? Because I feel like I was saying with sports or anything else, anything that you get good at is because you do it a lot. And so, what was it that made you start wanting to make people laugh? Like, just not even as a job or anything, just as a kid.
I would say I made the neighborhood bully laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude was known for knocking dudes out. If his name was Tiptoe Tim. That was his name. They called him Tiptoe Tim. And if he hit you, you was going to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I said something. I forgot what I said. I said something one day, and he like busted out laughing. And then the
Mm-hmm.
next day, he was with one of his boys, and he called me over there, and he said, "Tell my boy what you said, yesterday." And I said it, and both of them started laughing. And he put his arm around me, and he said, "If anybody mess with you, you let me know."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wow." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay."
It's so
Okay.
interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting how comedy has that ability. Like I was just watching one of the Jeff Ross things in prison, and people were commenting underneath it, "Oh, this prison seems like really like calm or whatever." And I was like, "No, you don't understand what's happening. That comedy has that ability actually to make people drop their guard."
Bro, and if you make people laugh, nobody's gonna bother you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're that dude, like if I got quiet at school, I remember I was quiet and everybody kept asking me, "What's wrong, man? What's wrong? Who did it? Who is it? Who is it? Tell us who it is." They was ready to go get somebody. The dude that's stilly all the time, quiet, they like, nah,
Mm-hmm.
nah. But yeah, man, I'm telling you, you that dude that make everybody laugh, ain't nobody messing with you.
Sometimes I actually think, like in my case, I'm like, this is too much social currency. Like, where sometimes, like, I think about things a lot. I have thought, oh, this is a little bit like a skill that I've learned
Hmm.
just to make people like me. And it never feels false for me because I would say that, like, I'm always like, I'm never repeating stuff or anything like that. But it does make me feel a little bit weird at being a skill, kind of. And like, okay, this is the appreciation, is maybe what I've learned to do. Has that ever has anything like that ever occurred to you as far as using it as social capital?
Mm, when you say social capital, you mean
Like, like, okay, people like me because I'm funny. Is that really like who I am, or is that just what I've learned to do in order to like,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah. 'Cause I've
Instead of
had that
them
thought.
naturally liking me,
Yeah.
am I the dude that comes around being silly all the time just to get friends? Yeah, I would say it would naturally come out. So it wasn't something that I was trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
where I was that dude that never turned it off.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what you're talking about, because there's some guys that never turned it off, and I wasn't that
Mm-hmm.
dude. Like I would be quiet around certain people, and then certain people, that's when it would come out.
Yeah.
So, but if a situation happened, and I just so happened to make a comment about it or whatever, that's when it would come out, or it just depended on who I was around.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That.
I never tried to be funny just to get friends. No, that wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
Cause yeah, cause I don't like everybody. I tell you, bro, I'm funny. I'm real picky when it comes to certain people, cause I read people real
Mm-hmm.
well, and some people just so those are the times where I would get quiet, and they
Mm-hmm.
would be like, "Man, you don't never talk," and I'd be thinking, I just ain't got shit to say to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
funny too. A lot of times people will categorize, always want to put everything into categories, especially now. And so people often will ask, like, "Oh, are you introvert, extrovert?" But from what you're saying, it's kind of like, okay, there's two sides. Like, there's I
yep.
can do this, love doing that, and that's part of it. But then I also am totally willing to go to this other side, and
hmm
like a part of, and I think for me, I would say that they kind of inform the other. Is that your experience?
Yep. And I don't know, man. Sometimes it just you get around that certain person, and you just like if they laugh all the time, like when you just say a little something, you really ain't trying to be funny, and they laugh, that's when you had them laughing all day long. It just I don't know what it is. It just comes out, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, that's when you're talking to somebody and you're getting all these breaks in conversation because they're just laughing. You're kind of just standing there or whatever.
And they just wait. They're waiting on you to say something funny, and it's like I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just but they think everything that you say is funny. So
Hmm.
I don't know. It's two different, like you say, introvert and extrovert.
Hmm.
So it can work both ways.
What do you do? Would you say, like, in your alone time? Do you have any like habits or practices or anything like that? Like, do you write comedy in your alone time, or do you just kind of like read, or what?
I watch a lot of YouTube. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I write. I be trying to read some books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, but yeah, mostly, or either I'm cleaning up, listening to music, or sometimes I'm just listening to music. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I'll be listening to my son's music.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like
yeah.
that's it. I feel like for me, because I live in LA, people are always asking me, "Oh, I do this, I do that," and I always feel like there's pressure in my mind. I'm like, I'm probably not gonna like your music, and so I like, so I imagine the pressure would be so much higher if it's your own son, where it's like, "Hey, Dad, like I made this," and you're like,
No, you know what? It's funny you say that because I used to tell people I may sound like I'm biased because it's my son, but dude, I would be like, he got it.
yeah.
He just got it. And like I would come home from work and my oldest son would be like, Dad, he did it again. He did it again. And I'm like, let me hear, let me hit play, let me hear. And I'm like, okay, okay, all right, yeah. Or I'll be like speechless.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you got to be kidding me. Like, are you serious? What was you thinking? Then I'll ask him, I'll interview him. So what were your thoughts? What were you thinking when you made this? What was going on? Like this bell right here. What's the reason? Well, I did that because I'll be like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah. It was never whack like that. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Because if it wasn't good when he was younger, I would tell him. I'd be like, yeah, man.
yeah.
Yeah, why? Yeah, that's yeah. And I didn't know that would make him mad. So I think that pushed him to make it even better. So
Well, I think you need that kind of because I mean, I don't really watch Breakfast Club anymore because Charlemagne sort of annoys me now. But one
Mhm.
thing one thing that he used to say that I thought was really funny is he would say, "I'm the person that will tell somebody if they're doing the wrong thing," and I think there's such a value in that. But not just that, but like you said, just saying like, oh yeah, this isn't good, or this isn't as good as you can do. I think that like for me, my dad, a little bit on the side of like nothing is good, but part of it is just that he is such an appreciator of music and movies and stuff like that, that like just life in general, like he reads, he does everything.
Mhm.
And so with him, like there is a little bit of stoniness, but a lot of it is just like he knows what the good stuff is. And so you have to,
That's what they
like,
said about me.
yeah, you have to come correct, because if you
Yeah.
don't, like, he'll be like, huh, okay. And
Yeah. And they know, man. I'm not gonna tell you it's good and it's not. I'm
Mhm.
gonna be straight up. I mean, that's with everything. If some of my friends come up to me and they be like, I know you're gonna give it to me real. So I'm like, yeah, if you don't want to know the real, don't ask me because I'm gonna tell you. So yeah,
Mhm.
I was always real with them, and they appreciated that. Now they really see. They was like, man, everything that you said was like, if you like this song, it was like certified. Like it's a
Mhm.
really good song, and now they still listen to that song, or it's one of the classics or something.
Yeah. I feel
So
like it
yeah,
is I feel like it is a little bit hard maybe it's just living in LA, living in California. I feel like it is a little bit harder now to just tell somebody that you don't like something or something isn't good or disagree without people like kind of, I don't know, cuz I it's a I feel like people are very attached to their opinions and stuff like that. And when I watch Seinfeld, what I love about watching Seinfeld, they're arguing the whole time and like disagreeing with each other, and there's just a sense of like, and we're still friends regardless. But I do think that that is something that is kind of going down, where people are sort of self-selecting people who are
it's
just going
the
to say,
it's the world today, man. Everybody is so, with us being comedians, everybody is so touchy and so sensitive, and it's things that we can't talk about, or you got to be careful if you talk about it. Um, and people are fake because people are like, I didn't want to hurt your feelings, and I don't want nobody around me that can't be real with me.
mm-hmm.
If you gonna lie to me or you can't be straight up with me, yeah, I don't want no friend like that because I want you to tell me the real,
Yeah.
you know.
One, I think to me that's confidence, is being willing to accept that like not everything is shiny and not everything is great, but
Yep.
like I'm still like, for better or for worse, this is what we're working with, and I'll just deal with whatever that is.
And it
But I
makes
want,
you better.
yeah, yeah,
That's it. That's all it does. It just makes you better. It's not
yeah,
saying that you suck. It's just saying that this can be better. This can be
mm-hmm.
better. That's
Mm-hmm.
all. But they take it and they run with it. Like, oh my god. Oh, like no.
Which
It
to
just
me, I
means you.
think that, yeah, people want like a positive or negative result, and they put so much focus on that. But to me, I've always, well, for a long time, I've kind of held the axiom in my head of like, you're either growing or you're dying.
Yep.
That's it. That's it.
There you go.
And so, like, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. There's no
Yep.
middle ground. And I
Yep.
think that to me, that's what creativity is being willing just to throw everything out and be like, I'm going to try and make something better than before. But, you know, I think it's hard if you attach your identity too much to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're not as fluid, then it's like, all right, like, wait, no, like you said that movie was bad or whatever, but I like made that movie, you know, and so now what does this say about who I am?
Yeah, or it's that person's opinion. That
Mm-hmm.
person's opinion, because they may not like it and the next person may love it. So
Yeah, it's not a very good thing to attach your worth to.
yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, like, talking about this, because I feel like it's really confidence, like I said. At what point was that just something that you were born with, like having that sort of sensibility of like I am who I am and I'm doing what I'm doing, or was that something that you learned at some point?
I think I got that from my parents, my
Mm-hmm.
my mom and dad, because they were both I would say, like, my dad, he didn't have a filter. You know how people say bite your tongue? He didn't have a tongue. He said exactly how he felt, and my mom pretty much was the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that came with that. I watched them how they were, and that came with confidence. And my dad would always tell me to get your own shit, don't take shit from nobody. And if they like you, cool. If they don't like you, cool. And I grew up like that. And plus, I'm the only child, so I didn't have no brothers and sisters to bounce nothing on. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to be. It's either all or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I was
Yeah.
wondering too, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but your dad was in the army and you were in the army.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
was that something that was kind of like, oh, you should do this, or was it something that you wanted to do because he had?
I actually surprised him when I told him that I was signed that I was signing up, because I played basketball with guys that were in the army, and I would hang out with them. And you do stuff with your dad. You go to the little cookouts and little stuff that they have, and then I played basketball with the other dudes, and I would go to the barracks and see how they lived, and they got a car, they got all this, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. So
Mhm.
when I told him about it, he started smiling. He was like, "For real? You really want to go on?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Okay, okay, yeah."
That's
So
pretty.
yeah.
Yeah,
hmm
that's pretty cool that it was just something that you took to. Also, how long were you in the? How long were you in the army?
8 years. Yep, 8 years. Got out when my boys. It was time for me to reenlist, and I was like, if I reenlist, I'm probably not gonna be able to take my family with me.
Mm-hmm.
And they usually send you overseas to a duty
Mm-hmm.
station somewhere where you can't take your family with you. And I had a lot of friends that experienced that, so I got out.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So,
that's a good reason for moving on.
mhm.
What
And I'm
was it?
glad I did.
What was your experience like in the army? Like, what did you come away with, kind of, and what are your sort of like thoughts on it, retrospective?
I think it was a great decision that I made to go in the military, because it teaches you discipline, and you meet a lot of good people. In the military, you get to go a lot of places. Travel to a lot of different places. But I was already disciplined because my mom and dad. As
Mm-hmm.
far as cleaning up, ironing, we ironed everything. So I was already ironing everything before I went in the army. Um, Me and my dad used to have competitions on who could make the car look the best. Like,
Mm-hmm.
your white walls don't look like my white walls. Look at my window. You can stick your hand, look like the window rolled down. Yeah, yeah. So I already had that. So and I don't know, man. I wasn't intimidated. In basic training, everybody was scared. And, I saw big dudes crying. I laughed at everything. So I would always get in trouble because I was laughing. Because I
Yeah.
mean, you can't put your hands on me. So I laughed at everything. But But yeah, but I think now, as far as going in the army or the military, I think it's a lot different than what it used to be. You know, before Desert Storm and Desert Shield happened.
Yeah.
You know, you could go in there and go to college. They pay for your school. They still do, but I just think it's different. It's different now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I still think it's. I'm glad I did it because I learned a
Yeah.
lot from it. You know, and yeah, I wouldn't tell people to go in there now. I don't know how it is now, but
Yeah.
when I was in there, I had fun, man. It was fun.
Mm-hmm. Was there something? I mean, it sounds like you were pretty disciplined and focused before, but was there something that you took from that and you put towards comedy, or?
Um, I never I would say as bad as it was when I first started doing comedy, because man, I would bomb. Man, when I first started doing comedy at this bar, I started in this bar slash restaurant
Mm-hmm.
called Salams.
Mm-hmm.
And every Wednesday, I always had to go up first. And man, and when I tell you, I got some of this stuff on videotape. My mentor who took me under his wing, he would go on stage and like kick off the show and do like 20 minutes and just murder.
Mm-hmm.
And then bring me on stage. So how are you gonna follow that? So man, it would be so quiet. You could hear the people in the kitchen cooking. You can hear cars driving by. Uh, bro, it was bad, man. Bro, it was bad. And I mean, like, it would be so quiet in there, and people just looking at you like. So, but I never, ever, no matter how bad it was, I never had that feeling of quitting.
Yeah.
Never had that feeling. I always felt like I know I can get them. I know I can get them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the military has anything to do with that, or discipline, or just never give up or never quit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think to me, like with art in general, is like that's always been the sense that I've had is like whether it's because I do a lot of different stuff, and it's like there there is a version of this where I can get you.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it's never been really that personal because
Mm-hmm.
it's just like I just have to chip away at this rock until I
Mm-hmm.
find the thing that I'm trying to find. And then if I
Mm-hmm.
do, like if you tell me it's good, I'm like, I know because I did everything that I needed to do. Get
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Because that first laugh, man, when I got that first laugh, I was like in shock. Like, oh, this is what it feels like to be accepted.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I
Uh-huh.
got to do this again and again and again. Oh,
What do you
yeah.
think was the difference? Because you said you bombed for a while first, but you had been good at being funny, like socially. Was there something that you had to learn in order to be funny
Oh,
on the
oh,
stage, like
bro.
specifically?
Oh, man. It's totally different. When you're around your friends know you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's totally different. When you go to a comedy club, you're making total strangers.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to make total strangers involuntarily laugh.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different ball game. And the stuff that you thought was funny, when you get on that stage and you find out quick that shit ain't funny, you like, oh, and can't nobody help you. You by
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So when it don't go well, you go into panic mode or search mode or what am I going to do mode, or how am I going to dig out of this, climb my way out of this hole.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ball game, man. It's
Yeah.
totally different than your friends.
Yeah. Instead of going like 40 to 60, it's 0 to 60, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything specifically that you did differently that started making it work, or was it just getting a different like sense of the atmosphere?
I would say finding out your style, because when you first start doing comedy, you don't know what your style is going to be.
Yeah.
The way you dress, your voice inflection, what you're talking about, you know, your confidence. Your confidence is the biggest, because if you standing up there and you scared, they can see that you scared or
Yeah.
you're nervous.
Yeah.
So if you have that, persona that you don't care, or that you up there, you just up there talking and you like trying to get your point across or whatever, then I think that also has something to do with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, all of that combined.
Yeah, I remember Seinfeld saying that in an interview, saying like basically, it's not funny if you're trying to be funny. It's funny if you're just trying to say something.
Yeah, but at the same time, you still trying to be funny, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just how he delivered it.
Mm-hmm.
He delivered it like he wasn't trying to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's one of my favorite comedians.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, do you have a reason to start talking, and like, do you have a point to get across? And then, like you said, it is, well, you're still trying to be funny, but it's like, is there a reason for you talking, or are you just talking? But I think
I would,
at the
yeah.
same time, though, I do think that some of it is just like there is a thing. It's like a chemical thing almost. It feels like there's just funny and there's not funny. And it doesn't have
Hmm.
to, like, I was talking to Josh about that in the last interview, is like, because he does a lot of stuff, like, he's very structurally sound as a comedian,
Hmm.
but he does a lot of stuff that, like, it's structurally sound in terms of like joke building, but it won't be related. It's like really tenuously related one thing to another. But like
Hmm.
he was talking about, like, if you just do like certain leg work, and if it just is funny, like, it'll work, you
Hmm.
know? And it is just like, is it or is it not? And I think that's what stand up sort of proves, is like you're saying, it's like there's stuff that you think in your mind, like, oh, yeah, this is something or whatever, and then you just find out.
Hmm. Yep. And I call it the 1, 2, 3 punch, because by me being physical and doing facial expressions, and if you got a funny joke, you're physical and you have facial expressions, one of them is going to get the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and if you just silly up there and you just having fun and they see that you having fun, you know, that looks like you're not trying to be funny. You're just comfortable up there and you just having fun. So it's not like I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying to get you guys,
Mm-hmm.
to laugh. I'm just telling you, I'm like, it's like when you come home from work and you saw something funny happen, you just telling them what happened, but
Mm-hmm.
you're telling them in a funny way that makes them laugh. And sometimes you really not even trying to be funny. It's just the way that you delivering it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's like with the right tempo, anything can be funny, sort of.
Yep. Yep. And style. Yep.
Yeah, which is kind of like weird to think about to me. But in that vein, I'm always interested in creativity. What's your process for writing? And what's your process for, like, do you have a way that you sustain creativity, or is it just something that's natural?
I would say when I come up, if I have an idea or a funny idea, I'll write it down,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to write it down immediately,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't, you know the you'll forget how it was, the wording, the voice inflection of how you wanted to deliver it. Um, I would say early in the morning is the best time to write. when your brain is fresh,
Mm-hmm.
um, or probably in the evening time. Um, but yeah, man, it's I just write stuff down, and if it makes me laugh, then I can't wait to tell it on stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes I'll sit on a joke for like too doggone long. Like it'll be like 6 months. It could be even longer than that because you don't know. You like, okay, am I ready to say it on stage yet? Do I have it all remembered yet? And then when you
Yeah.
finally do it, you like, damn, I could have said this. I could have said this a long time ago.
If this was gonna give me
Damn.
this big of a laugh, I should have used this years ago.
Yeah, like God dog, man. It's one joke that I do, man. I did not have a clue on how it was gonna do. And it's like a big explosion, like just like that.
Mm-hmm. What joke
And
was that?
I was talking, it's about older women. Younger guys need to get an older woman,
Mm-hmm.
and how older women don't play games. And I say older women have this move right here. And I say, you see this, young ladies, pay attention. This is how an older woman massages your balls. Bruh. And the room just, they laugh for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I mean, to the point where they make me start laughing because you see people doing this, and they smacking the table, and they just doing all kinds of stuff. And their facial expressions, it just makes me laugh. And then they start laughing even more than I'm laughing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Do you ever like when you perform, do you hold to what you were planning on doing, or is there some level of you just kind of like go with what the crowd is giving you in terms of like what jokes you're gonna do?
It can go both ways. I would say a lot of times it never goes how you want it to go. You
Yeah.
may a lot of times I may let it come to me. I may
Mm-hmm.
start out a certain way, and if the crowd laughs a certain way, I'll go in one direction.
Yeah.
If they're not laughing how I want them to laugh, then I'm thinking, okay, I got to go a whole nother direction to try to
Mm-hmm.
get them where I want them, and then come back
Mm-hmm.
to where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, so a lot of times uh it's different. You know, I don't. A lot of guys they're scripted. They go, oh, I gotta do A B C D E F G, and I would say a lot of times it don't work like that.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta
Yeah.
be versatile.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of versatility, so you do a lot of, um, if you can pardon that horrible, transition. You do a lot of stuff on cruise ships. How did that start? Like, was it you got one gig and then like you did really well, and then they just started asking you back every time?
You know what? I was referred by Dave Stroop, who books the Funny Bone. He
Mm-hmm.
used to be the manager at the Columbus Funny Bone,
Mm-hmm.
and he would run the club, and he would also book the feature acts across the nation. And I got a random email one day saying that I was referred.
Mm-hmm.
They asked him if he knew any comedians that would be good for the cruise ship, and he gave them my name because he knew that I also do clean comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked me to send them a 10-minute video, and that they would send it to Norwegian Cruise Line. If they like it, they'll send you on a 1 week test voyage, and if you do well, you go from there. And I was able to quit my job and go full time.
Mm-hmm.
2016.
How soon were you able to quit after that first 1 week test?
My the test was in February. I quit my job that August.
Okay. That's pretty awesome.
So yeah, so they gave me a whole lot of dates, and I was like, oh shit, oh damn, this means I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to quit my job. Oh,
You're like,
I was like, oh, I can't
well,
go out for 2 weeks
unfortunately,
and
I
come
can
back.
no longer work here.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to go out for 2 weeks and come back to a job. No, they ain't doing that.
Is it
So
always two
yeah,
weeks for you on these different cruises, or is it vary?
it varies. It could be 4 days. It could be a week, all the way up to a month, depending on the contract.
Do you like being on cruises, or are you kind of just like waiting to get back the whole time?
Actually like it.
Hmm.
Getting to go places you never been.
Hmm.
Meeting interesting people from around the world.
Hmm.
Um, you on a you on a you on a cruise ship, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy in
Yeah.
the middle of the ocean. So yeah, I never saw that coming.
Well, it must be cool too because I'm sure at this point, like you're kind of like part of the whole thing in a way of like I was talking to somebody recently about how it's fun to work in a kitchen because obviously it sucks in a lot of ways, but there's a sense of like, okay, it's us and there's everybody else and they're like they don't really know what's going on or whatever, but like at the end of the day, us. So I would imagine there's kind of like a solidarity in a way, like with you at this point, where you've done enough where you're kind of like part of it to a certain extent. You have like a lot of, do you have friends that you see regularly at this point?
Other comedians?
No, like just friends. Are you like friends with like crew people and like and other people that work on cruise ships?
Oh, every now and then you'll run into somebody that you work that you seen or that you work with on another cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll go from ship to ship. Their
Okay.
their job is like 8 months on a
Yeah.
ship, and they may go from one ship and start working on another ship, and then you just so happen to see them walking down the hallway,
Yeah.
and y'all, like, "Oh, what's up, man? How long you been on here?" I'm like, well, I'm only on here for a week. He on here for a whole he on here for 8 months. So yeah, I ain't gonna be here long, bro. So yeah, I couldn't be on there for 8 months. Yeah, bump that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
crazy. It's like just one step removed from flying for years to a space station and coming back.
yeah, yeah,
Except
for real.
except for maybe worse depending on like how much you like being around people.
Yeah, being around, I would say being around people is cool, man. It's just being on that water,
Hmm.
for that long. A lot of times, um, it depends on what ship it is and where the ship is going. The itinerary.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that makes it cool. And
Hmm.
plus, you see different women every week. So you like, oh man. So yeah, so you see women from all around the world. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's another beauty of it. You making everybody laugh, and oh, you're so funny, you're so funny. Oh, well,
You're like, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it's the best of both worlds. So
Hmm.
yeah, but
uh,
I would say everything is all expense paid. You don't pay for nothing.
hmm.
It's the best job. I think it's unless you big time in the comedy game, I think it's the best, the best. It's one of the best jobs out there.
Yeah, I was just telling one of my friends, I asked him what he did, and he was like, oh, I teach people tennis at a club. So I was like, "Oh, you're a tennis pro?" And he said, "Yeah, yeah." And I just said, "I love jobs like that where it's like a character in a movie,
Hmm.
like maybe like the friend from a movie or whatever, like that sort of job, which is like what a tennis pro is, but then it's also like you get to just go on cruise ships for free and do comedy. Like that's pretty sweet as far as jobs go."
Yeah, they fly you out, put you in a hotel, reimburse you meals, reimburse you Ubers. You eat anytime you want. You can get off at all the ports. You get to make people laugh. And you get to go somewhere you never been before. Or bro, that's the best job ever.
Yeah.
And you get paid.
Were you like when you got this and you started realizing, okay, this is going to be like a big way. This is going to be, because I know you have another business too, but this is going to be like this is going to be a way I can support myself. Was that something that you were kind of, I'm sure you were sort of surprised by it, but also is there a part of you that just wanted to be like a really well-known comedian, like a more high-profile comedian that's felt like, oh, this isn't quite what I wanted to do, or is this job kind of, or are you satisfied, would you say, with this job?
I would say I've never really been that guy that wants to be famous, if
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the fame.
Mm-hmm.
I really love making people laugh and making people feel good. I've had so many different situations happen to me where people come up to me after the show. Like this one lady said she didn't want to come to the comedy club. Her friend drug her out of the house and
Mm-hmm.
made her come.
Mm-hmm.
And she said I had her laughing until she had tears in her eyes. And she's glad that she came because her son just got murdered.
Yeah.
And all I could do, man, is just hug her.
Yeah.
Just hug her right there. And I gave her one of my DVDs and one of my t-shirts. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is why I do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I think it would be cool to be a household name or people know you, but that's not why I do it.
Yeah.
I could care less if I could care less if people didn't know who I was or whatever, but no, that's not why I do it. I just love making people laugh, man. It's you make somebody laugh. You don't know everybody's going through something. I look at it like that. Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
going through something. And you make that person forget what their problem was for 45 minutes to an hour. They could have been getting ready to hurt themselves or something or whatever. So that's why I do it.
Yeah. Well, I think this is the cool thing about Misha is that, like, I like comedy, but she really is a student where, like, everybody, it doesn't matter if I've heard of them or not. Like, anybody that when I'm researching somebody, she gave me an interview, it's always like, so with you, it was like, I love kind of like the idea side of most things. And so, like, watching your stuff, it was just like, okay, this guy, it's not about anything other than like, he's really good. And I'm not saying that to compliment you, but more kind of along with what you were saying. It just goes along with what you were saying before about the way that you do stuff and why. And I wanted to ask you, do you feel like, because I know you said you love making people laugh. Do you feel like, and you talked about calling before, do you feel like this is your purpose? And do you believe in purpose? I don't know, like.
Yes, that's a good question. I really do think it's my purpose. Um, I would say when I found out, um, when I was, like I said, when I made that dude laugh, the neighborhood bully laugh. When I
Mm-hmm.
made him laugh, and just different people that I made that I've been able to make laugh over the years, even like another other people that never laugh, never smile. I used to work with this one other dude who was mean as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I called him on the phone, his wife knew that he was on the phone with me because
Mm-hmm.
nobody makes him laugh at nothing.
Yeah.
So she would be like, "Oh, I know he in that talking to Keith because don't nobody make him laugh. He just." And when I first met him, he said when he saw me over there smiling, he was like, "What the hell? He's smiling. Always fucking smiling and shit. He's showing his teeth and shit. You sit your ass down somewhere." And I'm like, Like, what's wrong with him? And I said something one day to him, and he busted out laughing.
Mm-hmm.
So from that day on, me and him were cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do think it's my purpose, man, because I really do love making people laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's to the point where I would do it for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so that's just how much I love doing it.
Yeah. That's really cool. Just I want to be respectful of your time. So
I don't have nothing to do, bro. We good.
okay, good.
We good, bro.
Then I'll ask you all the questions then.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I like to just know, because I like stuff in general, is like, because you said that you listen to a lot of music. What are you listening to right now? I know you said your son, which but what else? Who are some of your favorite artists? Like, not of all time necessarily, but just right now.
I listen to. It depends on what mood I'm in. I may listen to him in the morning to get me motivated, to get me going. I listen to jazz. I got my little, and these are like different playlists that I have. I got my smooth R&B.
Mm-hmm.
I got that playlist. I got my hard rap, you know, my with my Ice Cube and all of that. Um, um, who else? Ice Cube. I'll be walking around the house, quoting 50 Cent, G
Uh-huh.
Unit. You know, all that stuff get me motivated too. I'll be walking around like so. And then I got my jazz playlist when I'm just mellowed out, like when I'm thinking or if I'm cleaning up or something, or I'm just winding down. I listen to everything, and I mean, I got songs on my playlist that be like light rock songs, like Christopher Cross.
Mm-hmm.
You know, names that people used to crack on me about. When I was in the army, let me tell you a quick story. When I was in the army, we would go to the mall, and I was stationed in Kansas. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, ain't no black radio stations in Kansas, in the middle of Kansas. So you know, when you on the old tape deck, you changing tapes.
Yeah.
The radio station would come on,
Uh-huh.
and as I'm digging in the bag looking for another tape, you got one of them light rock songs that will come on, and unconsciously you're singing it,
Yeah.
and everybody in the car is like, "What the hell?" They like, "Yo, you know that song?" I'm like, "Yeah." They like, "Oh, you be watching Hee Haw too?" I'm like, "Man, come on." So yeah, but
It's
I love all music, bro. If it sounds good, I listen to it.
Yeah, it's funny though, because everybody has, like, I noticed that the more I've gotten into movies, especially, is like, I feel like most people, in my opinion, and this is just a very, like, wild statement, per usual for me, but most people just really have no taste. Like, it's kind of like, this is what I know that I like, and so anything like that, if I watch a movie that has these certain things, I'm like, cool. And then if there's something, everybody has turnoffs, kind of like music or movies. So like, there's certain stuff like I try and show my, like. So for me, I grew up in a small town, rural, and I always hated country music. I hated country stuff, like, because I wasn't really quite like them, and they knew, and I knew. And
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't until more recently, but I started listening to a lot more country music, mostly like bluesy, bluegrass type stuff. But I
Mm-hmm.
noticed, for me, it's been really rewarding to find country music that I like, given my experience. But I noticed country music is one of those things. I mean, rap is the same way, where it's like certain people, as soon as they hear like that's what it is, they're like, "Oh, are you playing that?" And I'm like, "Yes, but you have to give it a chance."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm man, the type of dude I am, man. I could care less if you know what other people. But like you said, you may love it. They might not like it, but it does something for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it may make you it motivates you, or it may make you want to do something or get you in a certain mood or whatever. But I listen to anything that sound good. I listen to it. If it has if it's something catchy about it, and I'll be like, okay. If it make me do that, like if it make me like frown up, like, who is that?
Have you
Okay.
listened to grime yet?
Who?
Tell its genre grime.
I never heard of that.
It's like
Grime?
it's British rap.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, you should listen to there's a couple people that I like, Dave and Stormzy, but you should just listen to the song Wiley Flow by
Wiley Flow.
Stormzy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you
Okay.
would like. But
Okay.
another question for you. What do you think? Because I know that you told me that your kids is what kind of made you want to find something a little bit more amenable to that, other than the army. Was there a way that having kids influenced you comedy wise? Is there something that it helps? Is there some way that it like helps you, or something that it changed in terms of like the way that you did that?
No, I would say you're saying did my kids make me want to do comedy or?
No, I mean, like, does having kids, does it give you any kind of like different perspective, comedy wise or life wise?
Oh, I talk about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about. Well, I still talk about them on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about them on stage and talked about being married and was married. Um, but yeah, I would say it just made me. It really made having kids made me want to find something that I could. I don't know. I wanted to do comedy to the point to where I could get paid to do it. Um, because I had a lawn service. I didn't like my job and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
if I could get paid doing something that I love and it could take care of everything, that
Yeah.
would be, that would be, and that was like one of my goals
Yeah.
of trying to do it to the point to where I could get paid and it'd be the financial um responsibility for everything. But I don't know if I answered your question right.
No, yeah. I feel like the way that no, you definitely did. To me, what that says is just that it narrowed your focus, basically, and it like of like this is the way that I'm gonna do it, and this is like why, kind of, and how. Of
Yeah,
like,
and it's funny because I had that feeling in my stomach that like when I first started, I was like, man, I just feel like, I'm gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. With I didn't
mm-hmm.
know what it was, but I stopped cutting grass. I started doing comedy more, getting on stage more, and man, I tell people also, if you believe in something and you want to do it, and you can manifest it. Um, that's real. And
Mm-hmm.
I never saw cruise ships coming.
Yeah.
You know, it just it just happened. It just happened. Somebody referred me, and um, it's like what I wanted came to be.
Yeah.
So um, so now I get to do it um, full time, and I owe everything to comedy, man. I can make my own schedule. I
Yeah.
got a I got a pressure washing business, that I still thank comedy for. Because if it wasn't for comedy, I wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
So and my kids again, they see dad has two businesses now. So
Mm-hmm.
wow. So I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
So back again, that falls back to them seeing, what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I think that I think especially with kids, but anybody in general, like giving people a vision of it can be more, especially in a way of like, and this is how you could do it. Because a lot of people look at, famous people or really successful people and they think, yeah, that's what I want. But then they they don't know how to get there. And so I think it's pretty cool.
And they think it's easy, man.
Yeah.
That is, nobody sees the behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody sees the how many times I bombed,
Mm-hmm.
humiliated on stage, bro. I mean, bruh. And when you get up there, man, them people don't laugh and they looking at you. And it's real bad when females go, "Oh, it's fine. You'll get them next time." Aw." Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, nobody knows what a person goes through. Everybody nowadays, man, they want this microwave success. They want it
Mm-hmm.
overnight. You got these comics out here that they want to be a headline overnight, and I'm like, no, bro, it don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You gotta go through the trenches.
Yeah, well, also, I
Huh?
think to be great, you have to have a sense of, like you said, well, I would do this regardless. And so then I think that does a lot of things for you. But,
Yeah,
even if just give you a single minded focus on being great instead of being a success,
yeah.
because I don't know, I think that's what life is about, anyways. Like, I love stories about people who were, used to be famous or who were like really good at something and like, nobody really knew or whatever. Because I think at the end of the day, it's just like, it's kind of like getting your heart broken. It's like, I always tell people, like, yeah, I mean, it's safer not to put yourself out there in life, but also, like, I so prefer pain to apathy. I so prefer, striving to doing nothing.
The pain is what makes you.
Yeah.
That's what molds you. And people forget it's not about, because a lot of people say, well, when I get to this, when I get to that, I'm gonna be.
Hmm.
No, it's the journey.
Yeah.
It's what you learned along the way. And if you never had pain, you wouldn't know how to deal with, you
Yeah.
know, people like some comedians that started out and they had it good the whole time and they never had no bumps.
Hmm.
So then when they finally hit a bump, since they never experienced the bump, now it's gonna mess them all up because
Yeah.
they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad. I wouldn't change anything. If I had to do it differently, I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change anything because me bombing on stage made me. The next week I was like, okay, I gotta come. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, I gotta either change it or I'm gonna try this. Okay,
Hmm.
that didn't work. Okay, and I just kept doing it until that one night I got that big laugh, and then that was my goal to make other jokes, to come up with other jokes that did what that joke did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I not, also, I just think, I always think about this, honestly, as it's funny because it's like that. I don't like 2000s country music really, I at all. But there is one song, that song "Live Like You Were Dying," and it always like makes me think
Mm,
about like how you spend this time, because I think, like you said, people always think about, okay, I want to be there, but like you were saying about the process being so important, is like it's really important as far as the future, but it's also important as far as now. Like there's so many people I know, and like it talks about that in that book Walden. There's just so many people who are living for whatever reason, and they're just not making the most of it. And so like
yep.
whether it's, I mean, most of it is like if you are engaged with life, then you are moving towards greatness. And I think that like most people are just kind of like sitting there wishing for something else. And for me it's like constant reminder of like, I want to be, who cares what really happens, I want to have been in it. I want to be like experiencing the stuff and trying and like, who cares about success at the end of the day? Like, you just got to be living.
Mm-hmm. And I also think a lot of people want things to they want things to be given to them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to work for it. So,
Mm-hmm.
and those are the same people that have the nerve to get mad or they hate on these other people that are out here grinding, getting it. So, like I said again, they don't see what they're doing in the trenches. So then it seems like when success does happen, they look like an overnight success, but they
Yeah.
really weren't.
Yeah.
So, like, man, where did he come from? Oh man, you're like, I've been doing this for about 10, 15 years. Y'all just didn't know me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well,
But I just think if you like what you're doing, man, it's gonna find you regardless.
yeah. Well, that's a good place to end it. I'd love to keep talking, but I got to go play Top Golf. Unfortunately, unfortunately for everybody. But man, I really appreciate your time, and I like you said, it's about kind of like getting to the truth things and getting to the good stuff. And I feel like I really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like we got to the good stuff.
Thank you,
So,
man. I appreciate you, bro. You made it easy.
thank you. That's my
Great,
job.
great interviewer. Yep, for real.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.